The spotlight shifts to Keanu Reeves, sitting calmly in his chair, his face an image of serenity, the faintest hint of a smile playing on his lips. As an actor, he has always been known for his thoughtful and philosophical approach to life, often speaking about the importance of human connection, compassion, and the broader impact of technology on our existence. Next, the spotlight moves to Elon Musk, who stands with an air of confident curiosity. His sharp eyes scan the room, and his mind seems already set on solving humanity's biggest problems, whether through AI, Mars colonization, or clean energy. His ambition to radically shift the future of humanity is well known, but how will he respond to the thoughtfulness and caution that Keanu will undoubtedly bring to the debate? As the moderators introduce the first question, the room is filled with an unmistakable sense of importance. This is more than a debate. It is a battle of ideologies that will set the tone for the next era of human progress. The moderators step forward to the center of the stage, their presence commanding attention. A hushed murmur spreads through the room as they introduce themselves and explain the rules of the debate, ensuring that the discussion remains focused, yet free-flowing. One of the moderators, a well-known tech journalist, speaks first. Welcome, everyone, to the Future Horizons Conference, where today we have the unique privilege of witnessing a conversation between two icons of our generation. On one side, we have Keanu Reeves, actor, philosopher, and advocate for human connection in the face of technological advancement. And on the other, we have Elon Musk, the entrepreneur and innovator who's pushing humanity toward a new frontier with artificial intelligence, space exploration, and sustainable technologies. The audience applauds, recognizing the extraordinary nature of this encounter. As the applause fades, the moderator continues. The question today is one that has never been more pressing. What will the future of humanity look like as technology continues to advance at an unprecedented pace? Will our evolution be guided by innovation, or will we risk losing something essential in the process? Will artificial intelligence and space exploration be the key to our survival, or will they become the forces that shape our downfall? The lights dim for a moment, creating an intense, contemplative atmosphere. A screen behind the moderators lights up with images of cutting-edge technology, AI, autonomous robots, and spacecraft, followed by images of humankind, families, communities, and moments of tenderness and connection. The contrast is stark, highlighting the tension between progress and the preservation of what makes us human. The moderator looks first at Keanu, his tone respectful. Keanu, you have often spoken about the importance of maintaining human connection and compassion in a world increasingly dominated by technology. What do you see as the biggest challenge humanity faces as we integrate AI and robotics into our everyday lives? Keanu's eyes gleam with a quiet, thoughtful intensity as he sits forward, ready to speak. He adjusts in his seat, taking a moment to gather his thoughts before responding. Well, Keanu begins slowly, his voice measured and deliberate. I think the biggest challenge we face is that we're losing touch with what makes us human. Technology, especially AI, is growing at a rate that sometimes feels beyond our ability to keep up. And while there's no doubt that these advancements can help solve significant problems, climate change, disease, and space exploration, for example, I think we need to ask ourselves, at what cost? The audience listens intently as Keanu's words begin to resonate in the room. His voice continues, steady but full of depth. Are we losing our ability to connect with one another on a human level? Are we becoming so obsessed with efficiency, speed, and progress that we forget the importance of kindness, empathy, and real face-to-face connection? There's a real danger in that. The screen behind him flickers briefly, displaying images of people engaged in deep conversations, showing emotional expressions, human interactions. Keanu finishes his thought, giving the audience a moment to digest his words. He sits back slightly, his eyes glancing at Elon, silently challenging the direction technology may be taking. Keanu pauses, his eyes drifting thoughtfully toward the audience as he gathers his next words. His posture is calm but resolute, his message clear. He speaks not just as a celebrity, but as a concerned human being, grappling with the larger questions about the role technology should play in shaping the future of humanity. I think the fundamental issue, Keanu begins again, is that we've become enamored with the idea that technology can fix everything. We look at AI and robotics as tools that can solve all of our problems, whether that's curing diseases, fixing the environment, or even living on other planets. But I believe we have to remember that technology isn't just something we control. It's something that will shape us in ways we can't yet fully understand. The audience is quiet, waiting for him to elaborate. Keanu continues with a reflective tone. We're already seeing the effects of technology on our relationships. People communicate through screens more than face-to-face. Social media has replaced direct connection. AI might solve many logistical problems, but at what cost? How do we balance the rise of these technologies with the preservation of the human experience? Keanu leans forward slightly, his eyes scanning the room as if addressing each person individually. I'm not saying that technology is inherently bad. It's not. But I think we need to remember that true progress isn't just about advancing machines. It's about advancing the human spirit. The technology we create should complement us, not replace us. We need to make sure that, as we move forward, we do so with a human-centric vision. The room is silent as Keanu's words hang in the air. His statement is less about fear and more about caution, a reminder that the future must prioritize human connection and empathy, even in a world increasingly driven by machines. Keanu finishes his statement with a final, poignant thought. Technology should never take away our need to connect with one another. It should only deepen our ability to care for each other, to lift each other up, and to preserve what makes us human in the face of this new age. The crowd, visibly moved by the sincerity and depth of Keanu's opening statement, responds with a brief but respectful round of applause. It's clear that he's touched on something fundamental, a question about humanity's future that requires careful thought and reflection. As Keanu finishes speaking, Elon Musk leans forward in his seat, calm intensity in his eyes. Unlike Keanu, whose approach is rooted in philosophical reflection, Elon's style is direct and confident, built on years of innovation and problem-solving at the cutting edge of technology. The audience feels the palpable shift as Elon prepares to respond. With a slight but knowing smile, Elon addresses Keanu's concerns, his tone even but assertive. Keanu, I understand your concerns about technology outpacing human connection, Elon begins. And I agree to a point. We can't lose our sense of empathy, our humanity, in the race for innovation. But what I see, and I think many people miss, is that technological progress is not the enemy of human connection. It is the key to it. The room shifts slightly. Elon's words carry weight, and he speaks with the urgency of someone who believes in the transformative power of technology. He continues, look at the problems we face as a species: climate change, resource scarcity, and the very real possibility that Earth may no longer be sustainable for human life in the long run. We've reached the point where we need technology to survive. We need AI, robotics, and space exploration to give us a chance at a future. Elon's gaze shifts across the audience, making eye contact with several individuals as he emphasizes his points. Space exploration isn't just a fantasy, it's a necessity. We cannot continue to put all our eggs in one basket. If something were to happen to this planet, humanity would need to have the capability to live on Mars, on other planets. AI and machine learning could be the tools that allow us to solve problems like world hunger, disease, and even aging. Technology can enhance our cognitive abilities and help us solve the problems that define our existence. He pauses for a moment, making sure his words sink in. I believe that the future of humanity depends on us embracing these technologies, not shying away from them. Technology is not just a tool, it's our salvation. The room is now completely silent, the tension palpable. Elon's argument is compelling. He speaks not just from the perspective of an entrepreneur, but as someone deeply invested in the future of humanity. It's clear that he believes the way forward involves bold leaps into the unknown, guided by technology and innovation. Keanu listens intently, his expression contemplative but unwavering. The room waits for his response, sensing that this debate is about to take a new turn. Keanu listens carefully to Elon's passionate defense of technological advancement. There's a slight pause before Keanu responds, his tone thoughtful but firm. He adjusts in his seat, his eyes focused on Elon as he prepares to counter his argument. Elon, I hear what you're saying, Keanu begins, his voice calm but filled with the weight of his thoughts. And I don't disagree that technology has the potential to solve some of humanity's biggest challenges. But I think the real question we should be asking is not just what technology can do, but how we will use it. The truth is, we can't just jump headfirst into a future shaped entirely by machines. We need to ask ourselves, what kind of people do we want to become? Keanu's words hang in the air, the audience waiting for him to continue. His gaze moves slowly over the room before returning to Elon. If AI and robots are meant to help us, then that's one thing. But if we use them to replace the most human aspects of our existence, our empathy, our relationships, our vulnerability, then were we really solving? Are we creating a future where we're so dependent on machines that we forget how to connect with each other, with nature, with ourselves? Keanu pauses, allowing the room to absorb his challenge. His voice softens, but his words are laced with a sense of urgency. We're already seeing this play out. Look at the way technology has affected our relationships. Social media, for instance, was meant to connect us, but it often drives us further apart. People have more followers than friends. People talk through screens instead of face-to-face. And the more we advance in technology, the more disconnected we seem to become. Keanu's eyes narrow slightly as he leans forward, his conviction clear. We have to stay human in the face of all this. We need to focus not just on what we can do with technology, but how we choose to live with it. I'm not saying we should reject progress, but I'm saying that we have to take a step back and ask, does this make us more human or less? Elon watches Keanu carefully, clearly struck by the sincerity of his argument. The room is still as the audience processes Keanu's perspective, an appeal for caution, for balance. Keanu's eyes never leave Elon's, as if challenging him to consider the true cost of unbridled technological advancement. Elon Musk doesn't hesitate for long. His posture straightens, and his eyes, sharp with the fire of conviction, lock onto Keanu as he prepares to respond. There's no doubt that Elon is used to challenging ideas, and he's not about to let Keanu's caution stand unchallenged. Keanu, I respect your view, Elon begins, his voice calm but firm. But I think you're missing the bigger picture. AI isn't just a tool for replacing human connection. It's a tool for enhancing it. Technology isn't inherently destructive. It's the way we use it that matters. And if we don't embrace AI, robotics, and space exploration, we're dooming ourselves to stagnation. Elon leans forward, his tone growing more passionate. His words are deliberate, and the audience can feel his urgency. You mentioned how technology is changing our relationships, and I agree, social media can feel superficial. But that doesn't mean technology is the problem. It's how we use it. Technology can connect us in new and deeper ways. With AI, we can solve world hunger by improving food distribution systems, cure diseases with advanced gene editing, and even extend human life by understanding biology on a molecular level. The room listens in rapt attention, the power of Elon's argument echoing through the air. He pauses for a moment, making sure everyone is following. You're right about one thing, Elon continues, humans must remain at the center of all this. But AI doesn't have to replace humanity, it can amplify our greatest qualities. With AI, we can enhance our ability to understand one another, share knowledge across the globe, and even bring people together in new ways we've never imagined. Elon's voice grows more intense as he turns his gaze to Keanu. And as for space exploration, don't you see? Humanity's survival depends on our ability to spread beyond this planet. If we only look inward, we'll become like the frog in the well, thinking the sky is only as big as the well itself. But if we dare to look outward, to reach for the stars, we give humanity the opportunity to transcend its limits. Mars isn't just a dream, Keanu. It's a necessity for the survival of our species. Keanu listens intently, his expression thoughtful but resolute. He leans back slightly in his chair, his gaze never leaving Elon's. The tension between them is palpable. Elon's argument is powerful and clear, but Keanu's caution about the human cost of progress hangs heavily in the air. The room is divided in its reaction, with some in the audience nodding along with Elon's bold vision, while others remain contemplative, waiting for Keanu's next move. Keanu takes a slow breath, clearly processing Elon's passionate defense of AI, space exploration, and technology as humanity's savior. He gazes at Elon for a moment, considering his words, before he speaks again. This time, his tone is less forceful but more reflective, inviting the audience to explore a deeper layer of the debate. I hear you, Elon. Keanu begins, his voice calm, but with an underlying intensity. I really do. And I'm not against progress. I think what you're saying about AI and space is important. But here's where I think we differ. I don't believe that technology can provide the answers to all of humanity's problems. The real question we should be asking is, how do we use these tools? And are we prepared for the changes they will bring? Keanu's gaze moves slowly across the room, making sure the audience feels the weight of his next words. We're talking about creating machines that can think and feel, machines that could one day make decisions for us. Do we really know what that means for our freedom? What does it mean for the essence of human nature if we begin to rely on machines for judgment, for moral decisions, for what is right? The audience listens in silence, and Keanu's words cut through the air like a blade. I'm all for exploring new frontiers. I'm all for building a sustainable future. But we must remember that humanity is not just about survival. It's about the quality of that survival. What's the point of surviving if we lose what makes us human in the process? If we let machines dictate our lives, if we lose our connections with one another and with nature, were we really protecting? Keanu's words land with the soft weight of truth. His concern isn't about rejecting technology. It's about ensuring that technology doesn't replace the human experience. He pauses, letting the room process his thoughts before continuing. AI, robotics, space exploration, they all have the potential to help humanity. But they also carry risks we haven't fully understood. What happens when technology becomes so advanced that we lose the ability to control it? What happens when we've gone so far that we can't remember what it means to feel, to connect, to love? Keanu's voice softens, his final thought hanging in the air like a challenge to Elon and to the entire room. I'm not saying we should halt progress, but I'm saying that we need to ask ourselves, are we ready for the future we're building? And are we prepared to preserve what makes us human in the process? The room is still, each person lost in thought. Keanu's reflection has shifted the conversation from a debate about technology to a deeper philosophical question about the very nature of humanity. The tension between him and Elon is palpable, yet both men continue to hold mutual respect, understanding the gravity of the topic at hand. Elon Musk, still leaning forward, takes a deep breath. He's listened intently to Keanu's concerns, but his belief in the future he's working toward is unwavering. The quiet tension in the air shifts as Elon prepares to explain why, despite the risks, space exploration is essential, not just for survival, but for the future of humanity itself. Elon begins, his voice steady but impassioned. I understand your concerns. I really do. But the thing about progress, the thing about space exploration, is that it's not just about technology, it's about humanity's future. We've reached a point where we're running out of time to solve the problems here on Earth. If we don't look to the stars, if we don't establish humanity on another planet, then we risk everything. He gestures to the screens behind him, which now display breathtaking images of Mars, futuristic space stations, and scientific models of human life beyond Earth. Space exploration isn't just about escaping our problems here. It's about expansion, about ensuring that humanity survives beyond Earth. Mars is just the beginning. Imagine a future where humanity is thriving on multiple planets, learning from our mistakes on Earth, and creating new ways of living. It's the ultimate backup plan, one that could safeguard the future of humankind. Elon's voice grows more passionate as he continues. You see, Keanu, AI, robotics, and space travel, they're not separate from humanity. They are humanity's next step. Our evolutionary path doesn't end on Earth. We need to explore beyond, not just for resources, but for humanity's survival. This planet, beautiful as it is, won't be able to sustain us forever. We need a way out, a way forward. He turns to the audience, his eyes intense and determined. And AI? AI is the tool that will make all of this possible. AI can help us build the technology we need to survive on Mars. It can help us create sustainable systems, and it can allow us to build a new future, one that is better than the one we currently have. It's not a question of whether technology will control us. It's about how we use that power to build something better, something that lasts. Elon pauses for a moment, his eyes locking with Keanu's. The future isn't about preserving the past. It's about adapting, evolving, and ensuring that humanity doesn't just survive, but thrives. Space exploration and AI are part of that evolution. We can either adapt and rise to the challenge, or we can remain static and risk extinction. The room is silent for a moment as Elon's words echo in the minds of the audience. His vision is bold, even audacious. To some, it sounds like a call to action, urgent, almost desperate. To others, it may feel like a blind rush towards something unknown. The stakes are high, and both men have laid their positions on the table for all to see. Keanu listens intently, his expression soft but contemplative. His thoughts are clearly still with him, his mind weighing the implications of what Elon just said. Keanu takes a moment to reflect on Elon's impassioned defense of space exploration and the future of humanity. His face is calm, but his mind is clearly processing the bold vision that Elon has laid out. After a brief pause, Keanu speaks again, this time with a more measured, philosophical tone. Keanu begins, his voice steady. I admire your vision, and I understand the urgency behind it. The future you see is one where humanity reaches beyond the stars. It's bold, it's ambitious, and it could very well be necessary. But I think the most important question we need to ask ourselves is this: what are we trying to escape from? The audience listens closely, intrigued by Keanu's approach. He continues, his words coming with a quiet intensity. We talk about Mars, we talk about space exploration, and we say that these are the next steps for humanity's survival. But here's the thing: are we running away from our own problems here on Earth, or are we learning from them? Are we repeating the mistakes that got us into this mess to begin with? Keanu leans forward slightly, his eyes now fixed on Elon. If we don't address the problems we have here, inequality, climate change, the breakdown of human connection, what makes us think we won't repeat them elsewhere? If we can't live peacefully, sustainably, and compassionately on Earth, then what makes us think that expanding to other planets will somehow be different? Keanu's words ring with the weight of experience. He's not dismissing the idea of space exploration, but he's challenging Elon's assumption that leaving Earth is the only solution. Look at what's happening now. We have technology and we have innovation, but we also have a world where people are more isolated than ever, where we're losing touch with each other, where there's a growing divide between the haves and the have-nots. If we can't learn how to solve these problems here, what makes us think we're ready to take those issues into space? Keanu pauses for a moment, letting his thoughts sink in. His voice softens, but his conviction remains strong. I believe humanity's future needs to be grounded in empathy, understanding, and compassion. Sure, we need to look beyond Earth, but we also need to make sure that as we grow outward, we don't lose the things that make us whole as human beings. We can't just focus on surviving. We need to focus on living in a way that's meaningful, that respects each other and the world we're a part of. Keanu's gaze shifts from Elon to the audience, the room hanging on his words. Exploration, yes. Technology, yes. But we must also ask ourselves, what kind of human beings are we becoming? Where are we going if we lose what it means to be truly connected to one another and to our planet? The room is silent, deep in thought. Keanu has once again steered the conversation toward a fundamental question. What is the future worth if we lose the soul of humanity in the pursuit of progress? The debate has reached a fever pitch. The intellectual and emotional weight of Keanu and Elon's words fills the room, leaving the audience hanging on every sentence. For a brief moment, the room is silent, as if everyone is deeply processing the gravity of what has just been said. Then, slowly, the whispers begin. Audience members turn to one another, murmuring in quiet conversation. Some are nodding in agreement with Keanu's call for caution, while others are captivated by Elon's vision of a bold, technology-driven future. The divide in the room is palpable, with both arguments presenting their own compelling logic. A woman sitting in the front row, visibly moved by Keanu's words, turns to her companion and whispers, "He's right. If we don't solve our problems here, what's the point of going to Mars? It feels like we're just avoiding the real issues." Her companion, a man with a thoughtful expression, nods slowly, reflecting on her words. Across the room, a young tech enthusiast who had been silently watching leans over to his friend and says, "But think about it. AI could fix a lot of those problems." Elon's vision for Mars, for space exploration, it's not just about escaping, it's about survival. We need to look at the bigger picture. His friend, while still intrigued by Elon's points, seems less certain, now torn between the two philosophies. The moderators, sensing the room's shift in energy, look at each other. One of them, the tech journalist, steps forward, addressing the audience with a calm but firm voice. It's clear that both of our debaters have made their case with conviction. We're witnessing a rare and valuable discussion, a collision of ideals. What you're seeing here today isn't just a debate on technology and space. It's a debate about the very nature of humanity, the direction we want to go in, and the values we want to preserve as we move forward. The audience responds with a light round of applause, acknowledging the gravity of the conversation and the significance of the moment. The energy in the room has shifted from being just an intellectual exchange to something much deeper, an exploration of who we are and who we want to be as a species. Some in the crowd are visibly stirred, realizing that Keanu's caution and Elon's vision, though starkly different, each contain elements of truth. The stakes have never seemed higher. It's not just about technology or philosophy. It's about deciding who we want to become as we face the challenges of the future. The conversation is heating up now. The audience, which had been caught in a reflective silence, senses the rising intensity between Keanu and Elon. The moderators, sensing the direction the debate is taking, step back slightly, giving the two men space to engage fully. Elon, who had been calm and assertive up until now, leans in closer to the microphone. There's a new edge to his voice, a hint of frustration mixing with his usual confidence. Elon begins, his voice firm but with a bite. I understand your concerns, but you're missing the bigger picture. We're talking about survival here. Technology is not some abstract thing that we use for convenience. It is the key to the future of humanity. Without it, we stagnate and eventually collapse. Do you think humanity has time to slow down and reflect on whether we're losing our humanity? We're already in a race against time. Keanu, unfazed by the heat in Elon's words, leans forward in his seat. His expression is serious, his eyes locked onto Elon's, and he doesn't miss a beat. I'm not saying we should slow down, Elon, Keanu responds, his voice steady and calm. But what I am saying is that we need to make sure we're asking the right questions. Yes, humanity needs to evolve, but we can't just build the future based on raw ambition. We need to think about the impact, the ethical impact, the emotional impact, the human cost. The air in the room feels charged now. The audience, once caught between both perspectives, now seems to feel the tension between the two speakers. The moderators stand at the sidelines, watching, unsure whether they should step in or allow the conversation to continue. Keanu's voice softens but carries an undeniable weight. When you say that technology is the answer, Elon, it feels like you're pushing humanity toward a future where we may have everything, except ourselves. We can colonize Mars, we can solve world hunger, but if we've lost our ability to truly care for one another, what have we gained? Elon's face hardens, but there's a flicker of respect in his eyes. He doesn't back down. Keanu, we can't afford to wait for perfection, Elon counters. We can't wait for the world to fix itself before we push the limits. You're asking for perfection, but perfection doesn't exist. The universe is chaotic, it's uncertain. We need to act now, even if it means we take risks. That's how progress happens. The room is now heavy with tension, each word from Elon and Keanu laced with the weight of their convictions. The moderators exchange a glance, realizing that this debate has reached its boiling point. The audience sits on edge, some leaning forward, others watching closely, waiting to see how this confrontation will unfold. The underlying question remains, what will humanity become in the face of such monumental change? The tension between Keanu and Elon hangs in the air, thick and palpable. The audience is breathless, aware that they are witnessing a conversation that transcends the usual debates about technology and space. These two visionaries are not just debating ideas, they are wrestling with the very essence of what it means to be human in the face of unprecedented change. The moderators step forward, signaling that it's time for closing statements. They give each speaker a final opportunity to share their vision, allowing both Keanu and Elon a chance to summarize their arguments and thoughts. Elon, ever confident, is the first to speak. He straightens in his chair, his voice calm but charged with the same intensity as before. I think it's clear where I stand, Elon says, his tone resolute. The future of humanity requires bold action. We need to embrace technology, AI, space exploration, sustainability, not just to survive, but to ensure we thrive. We have a choice, evolve or stagnate. We cannot afford to be afraid of progress. We need to look beyond the Earth and use everything we have at our disposal to ensure our survival. He pauses, scanning the room with a gaze that captures the attention of everyone present. We have the tools to fix the problems we face, but we need to act. The future of humanity lies in our ability to reach for the stars, to innovate relentlessly, and to move forward despite the challenges we face here on Earth. I believe in the potential of technology to create a better world, but only if we dare to push the limits. The room listens in a stunned silence as Elon's final statement hangs in the air, challenging the audience to consider a world shaped by relentless progress and innovation. But as the applause begins, it's clear that Elon's vision, though bold, leaves many with more questions than answers. Then it's Keanu's turn. He stands slowly, his expression calm but full of purpose. He takes a moment to gather his thoughts before speaking, his voice carrying a quiet strength that resonates in the room. I hear what you're saying, Elon. I really do. And I agree with you that technology has the power to change the world, if we use it right. But I still believe that the core of who we are as humans, our empathy, our ability to connect, our understanding of each other and the world around us, must be preserved. If we let technology become an excuse to disconnect from one another, to focus only on efficiency and survival, then I'm not sure what we're really fighting for. Keanu pauses, his eyes sweeping over the room. The future is uncertain, yes, and technology is an important part of that future. But I think we need to ask ourselves, what does it mean to truly live? What does it mean to be human in a world full of machines? The progress we're chasing is important, but we must ensure that it doesn't come at the cost of what makes us real, of what makes us human. He lowers his gaze for a moment, as if reflecting on the weight of what he's just said. I believe we can have both technology and humanity. We can push forward and innovate, but we can also take the time to preserve what truly matters, the connection between people, the love we share, the compassion that defines us. Without that, we're not just building a future, we're building a hollow existence. There's a brief silence as Keanu finishes speaking. The audience, moved by his sincerity, responds with a powerful round of applause. It's not just for his vision, but for the quiet wisdom he shared about the future of humanity. The moderators step forward, smiling at both debaters. "Thank you, gentlemen, for an incredible and thought-provoking conversation," the moderator says. "We've heard two powerful visions today, and while they may differ in approach, both have the potential to shape the future in profound ways. It's up to us as a species to decide how we move forward, with wisdom, compassion, and technology." Thank you to both of you for sharing your perspectives. As the applause echoes through the room, both Keanu and Elon share a look, a mutual respect despite their differences. Their debate, though heated, has opened the door to an important conversation about humanity's future. The audience leaves the room with much to think about, the question of how to balance innovation and human connection weighing heavily on their minds.